It's a Sunday afternoon in Kitengela. I'm here for my weekly grooming time. Before I started traveling this far to get my haircut, my barber, Carlington Kiprono, or Calix, as we call him, worked in town, then moved to another spot before settling in Kitengela's Brotherhood Barbershop. He tells me he was bought, literally, and the amount wasn't cheap, or perhaps cheap is relative.
Ilikuwa nataka by the way car. Second, hata hiyo unanipesa ati nataka kiasi gani. Niko na kitu project ya kufanya. So it told me, need that. No, let me just give you that time then. No. But I changed my mind. Kwambia, instead of you giving me a car, you pay your dough. But you invest, but don't invest. No.
Yeah.
So nita invest hapa. So that hata mimi sikuwa sasa na move just mtu anakuja na poach unaenda. Wacha sasa niweke hapa ndio pia nijue niko na shares hapa hivi.
Okay.
That's how it went.
So how much was the car worth?
The car in Konataka ilikuwa that or is 1.9.
1.9.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was my deal.
So in short, you can say authoritatively he poached you for $1.9 million.
Calix also intimated that out of his shares and his labor, his monthly take-home is 400,000 Kenya shillings. The trade has changed so much that he doesn't come alone. His package involves shifting with his masseuse who tags along as part of the Goodwill trade. And while this trend catches up in the Kenyan market, apparently it's been a dog's age trade. At another hair salon and barbershop, Elora Beauty's Point, Dennis Rodman Zoberi is busy at work with a client who's followed him for the last 3 years. Dennis, who's been a hairdresser for 22 years now, says although he hasn't bought any talent yet, he's followed the trend of hairdressers being bought on Goodwill and openly admires just how much investors are willing to spend to acquire talent.
I've had quite lucrative amounts have been given out, so
Yeah.
I was wondering why they were not seeing me.
Yeah.
But yes, I've heard about it, but personally I've never gone out to in search of stylists or beauticians.
But how exactly did the Goodwill business start?
So Goodwill essentially, if you look at history, probably dated back towards around the 15th century. And the idea of Goodwill is really, to pay the next person, to get paid for value that you've created within your business. So looking at a simple, say, salon, for instance, this particular individual has been in business for, say, a number of years. So they have created a reputation, they've created a brand, they have a set clientele. So when they are moving out, they expect to be paid a certain amount by the next person because they already have a ready reputation, brand, and flow of traffic.
Goodwill is also applied in the professional services industry when talent is changing stations. Sign-on packages are shared, but just how does the valuation happen to ascertain how much talent is worth?
Valuation, and this is done by an independent valuer, registered independent valuer, who would say this business is worth, say, 200 million. But then the person who wants to acquire that business says, I will pay you 220 million. So in this instance, that 20 million additional becomes now a goodwill for the business that's being acquired, and it sits as an intangible asset. But now looking at it at an individual level, like the barber we talked to, the individual professional that we said is going to come on to board, perhaps to a new company, it is about their personal brand. So when this person is now negotiating with their prospective employer, they would say, look, I come in with X number of clients, I have this kind of network, I know these people in the regulators or wherever it is.
Speaking of clients, Pauline Nyambura, who has been Dennis' client for the last 3 years, says she isn't thinking of changing her hairstylist.
Toka mbali na yeye because we never started here. Yeah. We were somewhere before, and Dennis, there's a day called Dennis for services, and he told me that he's not in the salon that tulikuwa na yeye. So his products, and hananifuatilianga, like 1 month ikiisha ananiambia Pauline, wakati wako wa service umefika. I love that. I really love that.
However, Goodwill business is never straitjacket and does not assure returns. For instance, Grace Omutsani, a short-term accommodation host, better known in Kenya as Airbnb, says while the Goodwill business is equally fast gaining pace in the sector, a lot of strategy in relationship management goes a long way to ensure the buyer or off-taker is profitable.
You are not selling the space only, but you're selling the way you are talking to a client or something like that. With Airbnbs, it's very rare, like maybe 10% a client will walk into a place. And remember, you've sold this place at a Goodwill. So it's not a sure bet, or it's not a sure bet that that client will come there. They'll have to ask me first.
Dennis also warns against the over-commercialization of services, saying the industry risks gaining meaningful quality when delivering services.
It will get a point, the quality of the service won't be the same. Yeah, because it lowers the quality of the person.
From Calix, the main reason why investors poach talent is to avoid the struggle of having to grow a business from scratch. He intimates it pays to do that, as men are known to be loyal to their barbers.
Perhaps you'd be asking yourself why you should poach a barber for that much. Let's try and make business sense out of this. My personal weekly budget for shaving, grooming, and a massage is 1,000 Kenya shillings, and I do this every week for a month. That's 4,000 Kenya shillings. Think of Calix here having 100 of such clients. Brian George, Otieno, NTV, On the Money, Kitengela, Kajiado County.